but who knows? So what he is saying is he ate contaminated meat while training in Mexico. Farmers in Mexico use, I forgot the name of the chemical, but they use it in the feed that they give their cattle down there. It kind of helps keep them lean, helps them lose fat, things like that. It's legal to do for that, but it's a banned substance in terms of athletes. So he's saying he ate meat down there that was contaminated with this stuff, and that's the result of the 2 tests. Now, he is set to go April 10th in front of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, who has basically said, in a sense, Jelani, we don't believe you, and we are going to suspend you, and that's why this fight is now off. So here's the thinking behind it. If the Nevada State Athletic Commission gives him a 6-month suspension, it'll be retroactive to back in February, I believe. Right. So that 6 months will be up in August. So in a sense, if that's how it plays out, it's obviously just a few months of a quote-unquote distraction. But if you suspend it for longer than that, a year or so, then obviously Triple G is going to have to find new dance partners.
Yeah,
and it sucks, man, because everybody was ready for this rematch. I was excited for it. The boxing community was very excited for it. So this is a big blow.
Yeah, and it does sound funny or fishy, for lack of a better term. It's just like you had some bad meat in Mexico. Like, folks are just going to be like, you should have known better.
Well, Jelani, you just hit it, man. I mean, look, you live in Mexico, and this is a known thing with athletes and training and everything down in Mexico, so you should have known better. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is really such a big issue. You should have known better, Canelo.
Yeah, I've been to Mexico, and I won't even take ice cubes. I'm like, no.
Right.
You pour me Coke, you pour me Sprite, just pour it all in there. I don't want no ice cubes. I don't want nothing. Nothing that might have something in it. So yeah, and it's just like you got, arguably now, your biggest fight. The first fight was, your biggest fight was the first fight, but now you got your biggest fight, which is the second fight, and it's like you get caught up, on some silly stuff. So, you were saying that, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. If it's 6 months, if it's retro, it just really depends on how, the board decides to rule on this. So if they do, and I guess, if you push it back to August, it's not that bad. But if it is pushed out longer, should Triple G grant him the rematch fight right away when he's off suspension? Or do he put him back in line?
Money talks, BS walks the marathon, man. So, the way I see it playing out, especially if it's in August, it's literally more of a speed bump. If it's longer than that, Triple G take that little quote-unquote warm-up fight just to keep himself fresh and, loose in between. And as soon as that suspension's up, he'll be looking for Canelo because that's where the money is. And Triple G, made, I think, north of about $20 million in that for the first fight when it was all said and done. He hadn't really made anywhere near that before. So when it comes to the money, and by the way, folks, Triple G is an older fighter. He's in his might be late 30s now. So he's got to get that scrap while it's out there for him. So this fight more than likely will still happen. It's just a matter of when.
And that's what I'm glad you brought that up, because you were saying that he was going to take another fight, but, like a warm-up fight, because I was going to ask you, is it even in his best interest to try and take, a fight that everyone just really wants to see, or, take it easy, make it calculated, and just say, you know what, let me get someone that I can go ahead, put that business to, and set that aside, get a little change, and then set up, for this payday.
You're right. Yeah, that's really going to depend on the timing of the suspension and the length of it. The ball is really in the commission's hands out in Nevada, because as Nevada rules, the rest of the commissions across the country And literally the world, in some cases, fall right in line with him. So, as we know, Nevada calls the shots when it comes to boxing, MMA, all that stuff. So we will see, brother. We will see. I mean, I hope, you'd like to take Canelo at face value, but I don't think the Triple G camp really believes him. I'm not, and I just told you the Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't believe him. So here in another day or so, we're going to find out. He is required to appear before the Nevada State Athletic Commission. We're talking about Canelo here, of course, and give his side of the story. And they will make an official ruling after that.
Okay. And now, and you listen to the Wait a Minute show with my special guest tonight, the governor of Minnesota, Vince Wright. And we're talking boxing. So now, with basically, I'm back on the bad meat thing. He's saying, I had some bad meat. So if they don't believe him and they think it's, he's lying or he's hiding something, do you think Canelo in his mind said, you know what, I don't have a chance against this dude and I have to gain some type of advantage to beat this guy?
Well, that's always a possibility, man. I mean, we never really know what's in a person's head, and, it wouldn't be I'm sure the first time that something like that has happened. Here was the thing about the first fight, and why I hope that's not the case with Canelo Alvarez, Jelani, is that while I had Triple G winning the first fight by a point or two, Canelo came on in the last 3 rounds, and he basically earned the draw that was the official decision. And by the way, I can see it being a draw. So I didn't have a huge problem with the way that fight was ruled the first time. I don't know. If I was Canelo, I would be chomping at the bits to get back to him because this guy's older than me. And also I tasted his best shots in that first fight, and he didn't stop me. He didn't put me down. He didn't stop me. And in the last 3 rounds, I was dishing it out to him. And quite honestly, Jelani, in that first fight, if there was another round or two, Canelo might have gotten the victory the way he was coming on in that fight. Mm-hmm. So this is, like I said, man, it's a big disappointment for boxing fans. We'll see what happens in terms of getting it all put back together again. But, yeah, this is a huge blow. Cinco de Mayo has become kind of a boxing holiday with the Mexican fighters, fans, always up in Vegas. It's a good time. And anybody, by the way, if you have not been to Vegas for a prime fight weekend, it is one of the great joys in life to be out there. So economically for the city and the region of Las Vegas, huge hit.
Yeah, and I was looking in the chat room, Clutch Talk Sports, my man Kevin Gray, he said it was, we were trying to figure out what they tagged him with, and I can't even pronounce it, but Clenbuterol or something like that.
Yeah,
is what they got him with. But you bring up a good point, and I'm going to the side for a second, and you listen to the Wait a Minute show with my man Vince Wright, the governor of Minnesota, and we're talking boxing. I went to Vegas unbeknown to me. I planned a trip out there, and somehow, some way, I planned it the same weekend. And who was it? Floyd Mayweather was fighting. What was the guy name? I for whatever reason, I want to say Victor Ortiz, but it might be the one. Everyone say Floyd sucker punched him. Yeah,
that was Victor.
Victor Ortiz. Yeah.
Yep.
And let me just tell you, he is exactly right. When the plane landed, it just had a different feel when you got off. People look different.
It's amazing.
Prices were very different. You want to
right.
You want to get a burger. It was already expensive to get a burger in Vegas, but Floyd Mayweather fight weekend, the burger went up exponentially. So but yeah, it's an event. So I could see exactly what you're saying is that a lot of people are losing money, on this everywhere because you're gonna have to refund people, because there's no fight, at this point. So
yeah. And they actually started refunding last week on this too. So I'm sure, kind of got a inside scoop from the commission that this fight wasn't going to be happening. So for the T-Mobile Arena. MGM Resorts is the owner of that arena. For them to give back refunds starting last week, yeah, the writing was on the wall.
Right. So since that's not going to happen, and we don't know if it will happen, I guess we can move on to the heavyweights. Deontay Wilder is out there in the news and saying that he's ready to fight Anthony Joshua. And he's willing to go, basically on Anthony's turf, and fight him. So my question to you, Governor, is that, one, is this a fight that will live up to the hype? I'll ask you that first, and then I'll ask you a follow-up. Go ahead with that.
Okay. Will this fight live up to the hype? That is the $64,000 question, or $64,000 question, my bad. I think it ultimately will because, well, if let's just kind of backtrack, and we'll start with Anthony Joshua this past weekend against Joseph Parker. Didn't look too good. Didn't look like he wanted to really kind of get in there and scrap and take some chances to possibly take Parker out. And after coming off of that Klitschko fight, which was the fight of the year last year, and, Joshua gets knocked down, he gets up off the canvas, comes back, stops Klitschko in the 11th round, instant classic, all that stuff. And then from that to what we got this weekend, if you're Deontay Wilder, now you're really licking your chops, and that's what you're seeing from Deontay. Now he's all over social media calling for this fight because I'm sure he saw what we saw last weekend and said, I can take this dude. I got him.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what you're looking at. Okay.
And now, and going into style, because they, people say styles make fights or, and all that. And Deontay Wilder's style, now, again, I'm talking to someone who knows boxing better than me. But from an average Joe looking at this, his fighting style, it looks like it's wild and a bunch of haymakers, but it seems like it's choreographed that way. Like that is his style.
You know what? You just hit on it. Now, here's the thing, folks. So for a long time, I have been really on Deontay Wilder because of his style. The flailing punches, not really knowing how to put them together. That's why, and I still say Anthony Joshua is a better boxer than Deontay Wilder. Now, after this last fight of Deontay Wilder's with Ortiz, I'm starting to think what you just said. That's his style. That's what works for him. And quite honestly, I was thinking about this during the Anthony Joshua fight this past weekend. If Deontay Wilder was in that ring last Saturday with that style and with the determination that he clearly has, I think he would have beat Anthony Joshua. And I have been picking Anthony Joshua over Deontay Wilder if they ever did get in the ring.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Would Deontay actually, because I've seen him, it was a short, but he in the streets, in his church shoes and all that stuff. And Lennox Lewis is trying to show him, which is not a bad person to learn any boxing techniques from, is Lennox Lewis. But it's just like, would he actually go into the ring against Anthony Joshua with that particular fighting style? Or do you think he might be a little bit more reserved with it? Because it will open himself up. Right. This would arguably be the best fighter he's probably ever seen in his career. I think they come out early trying to feel each other out, and I think that over the course of the rounds that this is what Deontay does. This is how he fights. And quite honestly, while he does leave himself open when you're kind of swinging wildly like that, I think he might find a way to get to Joshua. They both have their chins tested now. Deontay was in big trouble in the Ortiz fight. As we just said, Anthony Joshua's been down with Klitschko and had to get back up off the mat. But, man, I got to give it to Deontay, man. He's really getting me to kind of change my mind here. And I think that with that wild, flailing style, I don't think that Joshua we saw in the ring last week would have won that fight. So for Anthony Joshua, he's going to have to kind of get a game plan together
to figure out, okay, how am I going to deal with these punches coming from everywhere, all these angles? The guy's tall, he's got reach, and how do I get past that so I can get in and do my damage and do what I got to do to try and get the knockout or the win? Yeah. So all of a sudden here, man, we got a very, very intriguing fight. I hope it happens in 2018. I hope